On March 3rd, 2023, Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights speedrunning was set to change forever, all thanks to a brand new glitch using Shaggy of all things. But before I go over the details of this glitch, let me quickly give some context on how this was found. On the 19th of January this year, I was messing around at the start of the level Fishy Clues Part 1, where I would accidentally discover the first instance of a glitch now known as Umbrella Storage. In Night of 100 Frights, after beating the Green Ghost boss fight, you unlock the Umbrella power-up, which allows Scooby to float over long gaps or float upwards on fans. However, a key aspect of this ability is that Scooby can't do anything else while he has the umbrella out. In Fishy 1, I actually wasn't trying to do anything with the umbrella, I was actually messing with the trampoline. This specific trampoline gives Scooby horizontal momentum to reach this platform, but you can kind of counteract this by using a helmet charge which gives Scooby some speed. And on its own, this is pretty useless. It's used once in a speedrun to exploit this trampoline, also in Fishy 1, to get to this monster token faster, but that's about it. However, on January 19th, I realized that by pressing A during this, Scooby sort of gets stuck a bit mid-air, and I couldn't figure out why. But then, I tried holding A, and that's when I realized that it's actually the umbrella activating, except it's also not that. For some reason, halfway through Scooby's charge on this trampoline, something goes off in the code that lets Scooby activate the umbrella. But since Scooby can't pull out the umbrella during this helmet animation, the game will grant Scooby the floating properties of the umbrella while he's still in a grounded state. This alone could have been a pretty big discovery, if it wasn't for the fact that this glitch, for some weird reason, only works with these specific trampolines that give horizontal momentum. There's only 4 levels in the entire game with these trampolines, and none of them had any real use for this glitch. So it ended up just being a cool quirk of one of the game's most underused assets. But this glitch did inform myself and other runners that it's possible to store properties of Scooby's moveset. And maybe there could be some other niche things in the game that could accomplish this same thing. So from that point forward, whenever I was playing the game, I was always on the lookout. Cut to February 23rd. I was in the level Dark and Stormy 2, recording some footage with Shaggy for a different video I was working on, and out of nowhere, I accidentally discovered another setup for umbrella storage, but this time using Shaggy. When Shaggy throws you, he stays in a catching animation until you land on the ground or in his arms. Usually if you float with the umbrella into his arms, you can't tell that anything out of the ordinary is happening, but what's actually going on is that the umbrella property is getting stored until Scooby touches the ground, which is usually instant. But if you make this happen above a fan, well, Shaggy just starts floating, as if the umbrella was active. This was cool and funny, but still very useless. This was actually even more useless than the trampoline umbrella storage, as this type of Shaggy that picks you up only appears 3 times in the whole game, and usually in a pretty enclosed space. So I shared this with the speedrunning community, just in case anyone wanted to look into it further, but I didn't really expect anything useful to come from this. And nothing really did. Until March 3rd. It was late in the evening, and I wasn't planning to play Scooby at all. But I remembered that on the PS2 version specifically, you can clip through a wall in the level Upstairs 3 with Shaggy, which was patched on other versions of the game. And I wanted to potentially experiment with doing Shaggy umbrella storage with the trampoline. So I booted up the game on my PS3 to test it, and unsurprisingly, nothing really happened. However, I stayed in the level, just messing around with Shaggy, doing random things, when I noticed something extremely important, and in hindsight, extremely obvious. When Shaggy throws you, and he's in the catching animation, you can actually keep him in this state by holding run and moving without stopping at all. This might seem insignificant at first, but I realized that if this state stores the umbrella, then maybe it could store other properties of Scooby's moves. I first tried jumping into Shaggy and then double jumping, and you actually get a slight jump with Shaggy, which was interesting but nothing special. Then I had the idea to try and store Scooby's charge speed, similar to how they store SpongeBob's ball speed to cruise boost in Heavy Iron's next game, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. So I tried charging into Shaggy, and it didn't do anything. So instead, I tried charging into Shaggy from above to see if maybe that could work, but again, nothing happened. I was a bit disappointed, but after trying that, when I jumped, this happened. I had just discovered Shaggy storage. When you run or charge into Shaggy from above, the game will attempt for him to grab Scooby, but there's code in place that prevents Shaggy from successfully grabbing Scooby while he's in either of those states. But since the process of him being grabbed did technically start, when Scooby jumps, the game tries to correct itself and puts him right into Shaggy's arms. This glitch on its own would have been kinda cool, but still essentially useless. So I kept testing, and that's when I discovered what I'm going to call Super Smash Storage. When Scooby does his Super Smash move, the game locks him in place for about a second until he starts falling rapidly. So what I discovered was that if you perform Shaggy storage, then jump to enable Shaggy, but Super Smash right before the glitch happens, Shaggy will store this property of being frozen in air, meaning that we can literally float without any restrictions, unlike Umbrella storage. Except that would be the case if Shaggy was present in more than just 3 levels. But despite the fact that this would only have scarce uses, I continued experimenting. At one point I died, but Shaggy storage still continued. Except instead of Shaggy carrying Scooby, he started carrying himself, and this still functioned as Shaggy normally would. So I had a crazy idea. What if Shaggy storage would continue through different levels? If you're familiar with this game, then you would know that it's extremely rare for any property of Scooby to continue into a different level than the one he's in. But just for the sake of trying, I gave it a shot and entered into the previous level. And when I jumped, it worked. Shaggy storage worked in levels without Shaggy even in them. I immediately told my friend and fellow runner Coley_02 so that he could help me test. And he pointed out that Super Smash storage might also work in other levels. And sure enough, when I tried it, it did work. Coley also then did the glitch on his Wii, confirming that it's possible on the GameCube version of the game. This meant that just from Shaggy storage, almost every level now had a way to get way more height and potentially cross enormous gaps. Shaggy storage even persisted through the main menu, meaning that you could load saves and have it, or even start a new game and grab this key without the double jump, which is otherwise extremely difficult. The potential for this glitch is massive, and that's why I truly think that the speedrun will never be the same again. However, unfortunately, nothing's ever perfect, so I'm going to go over some of the current limitations stopping this trick from reaching its full potential. Firstly, the main thing holding this back is the fact that some levels can't handle Shaggy storage without crashing. If you've watched some of my previous videos or know about the theories in this game, you probably instantly thought about the chance for GameCube Creepy Early. But of course, when we finally have a breakthrough, the game crashes when you have the glitch and jump in Shock 2. And so far, we have no conclusive evidence of what causes it. Myself, Coley, and our good friend HD tested different levels and different circumstances all night, and here's our conclusions. So far, it seems that about half the levels in the game work, and half of them crash. If a level has Shaggy in it, or an NPC like Fred or Daphne, it also might be more likely to crash, which could explain the reason for levels like Shock 2 and Creepy 2, which have a version of Shaggy which gets carried by Scooby instead of carrying him. However, this rule isn't completely consistent, because some levels with NPCs like Shaggy in Cellar 4 and Velma in Black Knight work fine, and some other levels with almost nothing in them like Hedge 1, which you would expect to work fine, crash. Another very odd quirk is that the crashes store. So for example, if you enter Shock 2 with Shaggy storage, and then warp to Mystery Machine, which usually works fine, it would crash when you jump, because the crash has somehow stayed from Shock 2. The only way we found of undoing the stored crash is entering one of the 3 levels with a Shaggy that carries Scooby. I have hope that we can figure out different routes and potentially different methods to prevent crashing, but it's a big problem with the glitch so far. Another restriction of Shaggy storage is that it activates as soon as you jump, which means that if you want to carry the glitch through multiple levels, you have to travel through them without jumping at all, which on one hand could be very interesting and a unique way to traverse levels in a platformer speedrun, but it could also stop some levels from even being exploited with the glitch if we can't reach them. And the final problem is if we should allow storing the glitch into a new game. This is beneficial because it makes the trick hedge key early literally free, but it requires setting up Shaggy storage on a previous save file. Pros for allowing this would be that it's cool, makes the run more accessible. We already do something similar with Fade Skip, where we watch a fade in a different file in order to save time when we start a new game. And even in other Scooby-Doo platformers like Unmasked, they use another file to set up a flag to save time in their speedrun. But the cons are that it would probably be considered pre-run prep by most speedrun communities, and in tool-assisted speedruns, where you usually start from booting the console, this glitch wouldn't be usable. But in conclusion, this glitch will surely have several uses in speedruns, and change the way runners play the game to an extent. There's still lots of work and experimentation that needs to be done in order to understand this fully, but either way, it's still amazing that brand new things can be found in this game after 21 years, and I'm excited to see how this glitch is going to be implemented. If you're interested in running or glitch hunting this game, and maybe want more additional info about this glitch, I'll leave a link to our speedrunning Discord in the description. And if you potentially want to see me do runs with this live over the next few months, then you can follow me on my Twitch channel linked in the description. But that's going to be all for now. Thank you for watching.